This easy 5-row repeat crochet stitch pattern includes one really simple but kind of clever trick or technique that creates that scrunchy bit in that chain space. It is so sweet. It looks very, very cute. It works in all different kinds of yarn. This is a variegated yarn that's cotton that it looks beautiful in. So I wanted to try it out in both solid and multicolor yarn because I think it would be great for blankets or sweaters or even baby blankets and scarves. It's very lightweight, and you can probably also use a bulky yarn as well. It looks beautiful. You can see the stitch definition, and plus it's so easy that once you get used to the repeat, you'll be able to do it without barely even looking. For this demo, I am using Caron Simply Soft. I use Caron Simply Soft for a lot of the demos because the color variation is great and the yarn is a little bit shiny, so it looks really pretty on camera. But of course, feel free to use any yarn. Most Caron Simply Soft yarns recommend a hook size of 5.5 millimeters or 5 millimeters. I am using a 4 millimeter hook from Tulip. This is the Tulip Atimo hook. I tend to like to use hooks that are slightly smaller than the recommended size, and the tulip hooks have a pointy tip, which makes it pretty easy to crochet into smaller spaces. This pattern, we start with a foundation chain of a multiple of 10 plus 1. So feel free to chain as many as you like for your project, as long as it's the multiple of 10, and then add 1 stitch at the end. Here I am chaining 41 stitches, so that's 40 stitches plus 1. I will meet you at the end of this chain. So here we have chained 41, which is a multiple of 10 plus 1 at the end. We're going to go right into the first repeat row. So this stitch pattern just jumps right into it. For the first row, we're going to chain 1 before we start, and then we're going to place 1 single crochet in the second chain from your hook. And we will do this 3 more times in the next 3 stitches for a total of 4 single crochets in the first repeat row. So that's what you'll have after the first 4 stitches. Now we're going to chain 5, and we're going to skip the next 3 stitches and single crochet into the following stitch. Next, we're going to continue single crocheting 6 more times for a total of 7 single crochets. So this is what you should have so far. Now we're going to chain 5. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, and we're going to place 1 single crochet at the top of each of the next 7 chains. Now we're going to chain 5 again, skip the next 3 chains, and single crochet into the top of each of the next 7 chains. Now we're going to chain 5, skip the next 3 stitches, and place 1 single crochet in each of the last 4 stitches in this row. And that is the end of the first repeat row. I will put timestamps for each of the repeat rows in the description box so you can always come back to row 1 or row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5. So you can just watch those on repeat based on the timestamp. To start the second repeat row, we're going to chain 3, and that chain 3 will count as the first double crochet in the second row. Now we're going to turn our work. This is what it looks like on the other side. And we're going to place 1 double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. Now we'll chain 3, and we're going to skip right over that chain of 5 in the row below, and we're going to place 1 double crochet at the top of each of the single crochets in that group of 7 in the row below. So we're doing 7 double crochets in a row, 1 on top of each of the stitches in the row below. Now we'll chain 3, skip the chain of 5 in the row below, and again place 1 double crochet on top of each of the stitches in that group of 7 in the row below. We'll continue until the end of this second repeat row, just like this. We'll chain 3, skip the chain of 5 in the previous row, and again place a double crochet on top of each of the single crochet stitches in that group of 7 from the previous row. We're almost there. Now we're chaining 3 again, skipping over that chain of 5 in the previous row, and we're going to place 1 double crochet at the top of each of the last 4 stitches in the row below. that is the end of the second of 5 repeat rows. The next row, row 3, is the fun row. To start row 3, we will chain 3. This will count as the first double crochet in the third row. Next, we'll place 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. Now here is the fun designy technique. We're going to chain 2, and now we're going to single crochet, but all the way down to that chain 5 in that first repeat row, and we're going to single crochet around both of those long chains in the previous 2 rows. Then we're going to chain 2, and we'll place 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets in the previous row for a total of 7. Now it doesn't look like much now, but when we finish the row, you will see that you can see the pattern, and that scrunch shows up really beautifully because it's lined up in this very neat and tidy row of double crochet. And we're going to continue like this across this entire third repeat row. So here we are again. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to single crochet around both of those chains all the way down to the first row, and we're going to place a single crochet, and this is what gives you that cute little scrunch. And we'll chain 2, and then we're going to carry on with the double crochets, 1 in each of the double crochets from the previous row for a total of 7. Okay, here we are at another chain. We're going to do the same thing, which is chain 2, single crochet around both of those chain bars. I don't know what to call them. And then chain 2. Find that double crochet in the previous row and double crochet right into it, and all across that entire group of double crochets for a total of 7. Okay, we're almost at the end of the third repeat row. We just have one more. So we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to single crochet around both of those chain bars to create that scrunch. And then we'll chain 2 again. And place 1 double crochet at the top of each of those last 4 double crochets in the previous row, remembering that that last double crochet is a chain 3, so you have to find the top chain in that turning chain and place a double crochet into that, which can be a little bit tricky, and this is where the pointy hook comes in really useful. All right, now you've done 3 repeat rows out of 5. This is the 4th repeat row. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now we're going to place 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So the 4 stitches in the beginning of this row each get a single crochet. Now we're going to chain 3, skip right over, and then single crochet into each of the double crochets in that next group for a total of 7. And we'll continue like this across this entire row. Now we're going to chain 3 and single crochet into each of those double crochets from the previous row. Chain 3, skip over, and place 1 single crochet on the top of each of the double crochets from the previous row. Chain 3, and place 1 single crochet at the top of each of the last 4 stitches in the previous row. Remembering that the last stitch is probably your chain 3 turning chain, so you have to find that last chain and single crochet into it. Okay, that is the end of your 4th row. Repeat. We have 1 more repeat row to go to finish off the 5-row repeat before we can start all over again. So we're going to chain 3, and that counts as the first double crochet in the next row, and we're going to turn our work. Now we are going to double crochet all the way across. So we have 3 double crochets until you hit that chain. Now we are going to double crochet in each of those 3 chains. And again, this is where a pointier hook really comes in handy because it's hard to push through those chains with a more blunt hook. So that's why I've chosen this tulip hook for this particular sample. And we're going to keep on double crocheting 1 on top of each of the double crochets in the next group of 7. And we're going to continue like this all through this last repeat row. Now we're going to double crochet into each of those 3 chains from the previous row. And we're going to double crochet on top of each of the double crochets in that group of 7 in the previous row. We're going to double crochet into each of those 3 chains. And on top of each of the double crochets in that next group of 7. We're almost there, you guys. And double crochet into each of those 3 chains. And finally double crochet at the top of each of the last 4 stitches in the previous row. And that is your 5-row repeat. Everything you do after this to make the project bigger will just be a repeat of rows 1 through 5. Again, I will put the timestamps for each of those rows in the description box below this video. I'm going to stick with you and I will do a few more rows on camera in case it's helpful, but if you do want to go back and listen to the talk through for the first 5 rows, again, that timestamp will be in the description box below. Otherwise, I will sit here and crochet with you, and I will chat with you again at the end of this sample, so at the end of this video. So we have done a few rows together. I hope by now you feel like this is super easy, second nature. This is a cute little technique to create texture and movement and a little bit of tension in an otherwise pretty straightforward project. I do think there's something about creating tension in a project by crocheting around a few different rows at a time, like we've done here in these chain spaces, that gives the project a little bit of extra something. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great crochet project, and I will see you in the next video. Please like and subscribe.